Hey Mario, you must be flying high after that win last week. Yeah, it was almost a nightmare. I had two guys ruled out at the last minute, had to go on waivers, all while working on a deadline, need to finish 4 stories, man. I bet Jim is pissed. He was bragging to me 10 minutes before the afternoon kickoffs that he was about to embarrass you. Jim's just jealous that I beat him in the playoffs 5 seasons in a row. Hey Mario, man, what a story you broke. Everyone's talking about it. Which story is that? You didn't see it? The one about the government agents. Ones that magically were given FBI numbers despite them not being in the database when I first investigated the story. They both ended up in the asylum. Where are you in the follow-up? I'm guessing you don't think it's how they told you. Well, what did they tell you, Mario? That the two agents had PTSD after investigating a brutal serial case. Yeah. The one from last year with the guy who ate toast because he said he heard a message from beyond. Oh yeah, the one that pleaded insanity because he believed that the television was a portal to another dimension and that he watched some Tim and Eric sketch with Bob Odenkirk. At least it wasn't the Brown Note episode. Well, anyway, the answer to the original question is no, I do not believe that story, especially since one agent committed suicide and two agents have now ended up in the asylum. Excuse me. I have to take this, guys. Hello. We don't have much time, Mario. Please meet me at the Manderville Mansion up on Mount Creek Road at 10 p.m. tonight. This pertains to your recent story. And Mario, make sure you're not followed.
Welcome to the quest for the Green Bull, the rise of Azath. Things seem to have taken an interesting turn in both our story as we meet journalist Mario Cozzi for the first time, and with the league results as well, as several underperformances led to mostly low scores across the board. In fact, only 2 teams reached 100 points this week, both from the EO division. Injuries also continue to pile up throughout the league, but the overall lack of touchdowns is something we see from time to time. That's nothing that's that out of the ordinary. I would expect that trend to not continue. But only 2 teams really excelled, while 4 others squeaked out some wins here. Massive disappointment across most of our matchups, and the game of the week wasn't immune to this, by the way. But even with all that, several matches weren't decided until Monday night, with the Europa division having the most drama. And that's the division where Loki, Lebowski, Thor traveled to take on the Clash at Demon Head, the Swirling Skies at Havard Point for our Game of the Week. This was a matchup that both teams would like to forget most of, but there was some drama at the end with some Monday Night Magic by CD Lamb leading the Clash at Demon Head to a 71.96 to 70.98 win. Lamb ended up with 87 yards and a late touchdown to lead the Clash at Demon Head to this hard-fought victory that was the bright spot in a match with several unexpected individual results. Our 2 X-Factor players that we highlighted struggled due to strange coaching decisions, Edwards-Helaire did score a touchdown for Lebowski-Thor, but he had 0 rushing yards. Curtis Samuel had a couple of nice plays, but Washington abandoned the run against one of the best pass defenses in the NFL through 3 weeks, and he had limited red zone opportunities because of this, just 61 total yards. The clash at Demon Head didn't have a touchdown until the heroics of Lamb, with Christian McCaffrey's 115 total yards leading the way through Sunday. Even the Bills' defense had its worst game, which is 4 points. On the other side, Delvin Cook had 96 yards in a score, but also lost the fumble and dislocated his shoulder. Herbert had just 1 touchdown and a terrible offensive showing against the Jaguars, with broken rib cartilage possibly being a factor. The kicker Prater did have 4 field goals, and the Bucs defense had an okay game with a sack, interception, and a fumble. This was one of those matchups where the winner breathes a sigh of relief and the losing side feels pretty dejected. And here, Loki Lebowski-Thor falls to 3rd place at 1-2, while the clash at Demon Head remains a game back in 1st place with a 2-1 record. So you can see where these two teams are right now. Long way to go, though. And this wasn't the only low-scoring affair that ended up being very close. Moving on to the other Europa matchup, my first-place Dark Ridge Dreamers hosted Uncle Justy at the icy caverns of Varangir. Another low-scoring match, like I said, but this one came down to the kicker Gano on Monday night, who stepped up in a huge way, even with his first field goal attempt getting blocked. Gano ended up with 2 50-plus yard field goals, a 40-plus yard field goal, and an extra point to lead my Dreamers to an 89.86 to 84.58 win, remaining just one of 2 undefeated squads, and also keeping Uncle Justy as the lone winless team in the league. The Dreamers had a nice game by Nick Chubb on Thursday night as he collected 113 yards and a touchdown. Gibson added a garbage time TD, and Mike Williams also caught a touchdown. Waddle had a couple of big plays to finish with 111 total yards, and the Ravens' defense proved to be a nice play as they had 3 sacks, 3 interceptions, and a fumble. Justin Jefferson and Kyler Murray had rough games, though. Uncle Justy was led by Dreamers drafted quarterback Trevor Lawrence, and a little salt to the wounds there. 262 passing yards, 3 TDs, and a 2-point conversion for a very nice game. The Eagles defense also went off for 9 sacks after having just 3 in the first couple of games, and a fumble, allowing just 6 garbage time points to Washington in a pretty dominant performance. Chase caught a touchdown to mask another very disappointing performance by Uncle Justy's first-round pick. In the end, Uncle Justy enters out of division play still in search of the first win of 2022. Moving on to the Ganymede division, where defending champion Remember the Titans hosted the Stellar Bitches, the Polar Caps of Athanasu. Remember the Titans was able to secure his first win of 2022 with a 93.88 to 78.6 win in yet another low-scoring match. Saquon Barkley needed just 4 points to get the win, and he finished with 126 total yards and a touchdown on Monday night for the defending champs. A.J. Brown also finished with 85 yards and a score, and Jared Goff threw for a touchdown. Pitts and Sutton combined for 184 total yards, and the Chiefs' defense had 5 sacks and a fumble. The Bitches did get 2 late passing touchdowns by Kirk Cousins, and Derrick Henry finally played like his draft pick with 143 yards and a score. Scary Terry also added 102 yards, and Chase Edmonds scored twice to salvage his low yardage day. But Dotson struggled, and the Chargers defense ended up with negative 5 points, and yet another rough week for the Bitches, who fall far in the league after starting the preseason ranked 3rd overall. In the other Ganymede matchup, the first-place multiple scoregasms hosted AR's Ayahuasca Planet, the Secret Sea of Galanis, and survived to remain undefeated with a 95 to 92.9 win. Josh Allen had 400 passing yards, 47 rushing yards, and 2 scores, and Pierce added 101 yards and a touchdown. But Taylor once again was held out of the end zone, and St. Brown battled through an ankle injury. It ended up being the 49ers defense that saved the day for the scoregasms, with just 9 points allowed and 4 huge sacks. AR's Ayahuasca Plan had 2 scores by Aaron Rodgers and touchdowns by Metcalf and Adams. Robinson was a beast with 116 yards and a 50-plus yard touchdown. And the Broncos defense almost willed them into a win with 10 points allowed, 4 sacks, an interception, and 2 fumble recoveries. but an injury to David Montgomery and the struggles of Aaron Jones and George Kittle hurt in a huge way here. Finally, we move on to the EO division where the two best teams of the week reside. First, the Siamese Dreamcats hosted first place Green Acres at the Ship Graveyards at Beatrix Lane. The Dreamcats not only handed Green Acres their first loss, but they also dominated Green Acres and made a clear push to erase the tough start to this season in a 145.12 to 85.1 beatdown. Lamar Jackson once again shined with 218 passing yards, 107 rushing yards, and 5 total touchdowns, just hitting that cheat button. Devonta Smith also broke out in a big way with 169 yards and a score. Kupp and Kirk added touchdowns as well, and Akers added his first TD of the season. Goddard also scored, and Koo knocked home a 50-plus yard field goal to reach double-digit points. Pollard had over 100 yards to chip in as well. And the Colts defense was actually a big surprise here, limiting Patrick Mahomes to just a little bit of production. Green Acres had Joe Burrow snap out of his funk with 3 touchdowns, and Drake London and Najee Harris also reached the end zone. The Bears defense did okay with 2 interceptions and a sack, but Diggs was kept in check, and no one else scored a touchdown. Green Acres does remain in first place by tiebreaker, however. Lastly, in a matchup of 1-1 teams, a pretty big early season matchups, the Elite Mother Tuckers hosted Risky Business at the volcanic plateaus of Vulcan. And it was the Elite Mother Tuckers coming out as the only other team to reach 100 points, winning 108 to 78.68. Jalen Hurts continued to shine with 340 passing yards, 20 rushing yards, and 3 touchdowns. Andrews also did very well with 89 yards and 2 scores. Harris reached the end zone as well. The Cowboys added 5 sacks and an interception on Monday night. Risky Business struggled a lot on the other end. Mahomes had just 1 touchdown, and Thielen and Kelsey added scores, but that's it. 4 players had 6.1 points or less. It was a strange week of results, to say the least. But while it leaves week 4 up in the air, it also concludes the first batch of division games with only 2 undefeated teams and just 1 winless team. That means that 2 games separate 1st through 11th, and just 1 game separates 3rd through 11th. That's only 1 game separates the entire EO division, actually. That's just amazing to think about. I know it's early, but wow, only 2 undefeated teams left. That's how crazy this is. That's how hard it is to stay undefeated. And that's the content for the show, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. Join me tomorrow as we take a trip to the icy caverns of Varangir, my dreamer's home, for our next game of the week and preview all the matchups in our first week of out-of-division play in our league. Until next time, salut! And please check out the updated power rankings headed in week 4.